Hey yo, GOAT format players, it's Skill Brown Magician here, and I'm here with day one's profile of the Halloween week deck lists. Super excited to have King Skull Zombies. You know, this is the deck that everybody loves. This is in everybody's back pocket. Here we go, King Skull Zombies. Here's my take on it. And you guys, this deck is so much fun. I mean, who doesn't love a good old King of the Skull Servants beatdown deck? If you don't know what he does, this is the perfect one to start off the Halloween special. His effect, the original attack of this card, is the combined number of King of the Skull Servants and Skull Servant in your graveyard times 1,000. When this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can banish one of those King of the Skull Servants or Skull Servants from the graveyard to special summon this card back to the field. So what a perfect effect. He's a zombie. He has 0 defense. His attack is a question mark. And Skull Servant, he's a vanilla 1-star dark monster with 300 attack, 200 defense. Nothing special, but I'm playing some cards in the deck that synergize well with him. First off, we have Emissary of the Afterlife, another perfect example of a Halloween themed card. It's a, what would you say? I guess it's like the spirit, it's like the Grim Reaper. He has his scythe, and his effect is when he's sent from the field to the graveyard, each player adds 1 level 3 or lower normal monster from their deck to their hand. It gets you a Skull Servant to hand, and you'll notice that we have, with 3 Skull Servants, 3 King of the Skull Servants, and Sanguine, that gives us 7 targets for meta to go into Thousand Eyes Restrict. So we have 7 meta targets for Thousand Eyes. And then we play a Pyramid Turtle engine because Pyramid Turtle can actually special summon out King of the Skull Servants directly from your deck. So you have a monster that can special summon your boss directly from the deck. That's crazy, because all you need with Pyramid Turtle is a zombie monster with 2,000 or less defense, and fortunately, his attack is the question mark, and the defense is 0. If his defense was undefined, you cannot special summon him with Pyramid Turtle's effect. So this is a really nice way to go directly into King of the Skull Servants after you've discarded or had a couple of your Skull Servants and King of the Skull Servants sent to your graveyard. Or you just go into the classic Beatstick Ryukoki because he's 2,400 attack and he has right at the max of 2,000 defense. So what's nice about Ryukoki too is he's also a playable card that gets rid of terror from your field, gets rid of Thousand Eyes from your field. So that's really nice. Also, with all of these monsters that are basically, we have 3 recruiters, we have Sanguine, we have triple Emissary of the Afterlife, we even have Sinister Serpent, we have, man, that was a tongue twister, Sinister Serpent, and then we have triple Skull Servant who's just like 300 attack, and then when we kill him and send him to graveyard, it'll boost up our boss's attack. And what's really spicy is that you can creature swap King of the Skull Servants to give them a 0 attack monster. It's like you basically give them a GOAT token in attack position, because his effect is the original attack of this card is a combined number of King of the Skull Servants and Skull Servant in your graveyard times 1,000. And unless your opponent's doing a mirror match using this deck, they're not going to have any Skull Servants or King of the Skull Servants in the graveyard. So it'll be at 0 attack, 0 defense. Super spicy. Also, Metamorphosis and Ryukoki, there's some plays there. We have 2 Book of Life because we're playing so many discard outlets. We have Card Destruction, Graceful Charity, we have double Raigeki Break. And this synergizes perfectly with Book of Life because you're discarding a monster, which in this deck, almost all of your monsters, you're playing 12 zombies. So you can discard any of those 12 zombies, pop a monster on their side of the field, and guess what? Now you fulfilled the conditions for Book of Life. Also, come on, Halloween themed, you have to play Call of the Haunted. And that pretty much rounds out the deck profile. Let's get into the stratagems. So if you guys are still listening here, I'd really appreciate it. Give me a like, give me a sub, let me know something in the comments that you like about my videos. I'd really appreciate that guys. You guys are the ones that really take this channel far, and your comments are the ones that I appreciate the most. All right, guys. So for the stratagems, the summons. First off, Emissary, he's essentially a Sangan. No, he doesn't search a level, or sorry, he doesn't search a 1500 or less attack monster from your deck to your hand. But his effect is just like Sangan in the sense that anytime he's sent from the field to the graveyard, you get a Skull Servant to hand. And what's good about that is that it makes him a very safe summon. You can attack into your opponent. He has 1600 attack, which is really respectable, right? You can kill off a breaker. You can kill off a tribe, right? You can kill off Deco, any recruiter with his attack. He has 1600. And then when he gets destroyed, if your opponent decides to Saku him, it just sucks because, I kept my Skull Servant to hand, which I can use for Raigeki Break. There's just so many things that you can do with this card. He's also good knockbait if you have you have your Cyber Jar in hand, because you don't really necessarily want your King Servant or your King Skull and your Skull Servants in the graveyard. You want them in the graveyard, not in the banished pile. Just because if you get rid of too many of your King Skulls and your Skull Servants, it really weakens King Skull when you bring him out later or in the mid game. So if you metamorphosis King Skull or Skull Servant, you have Thousand Eyes Restrict on field, which allows you to build up more time to grab more cards. And then it gets you a servant in graveyard, so it allows you to slowly boost up that attack. And then you have like I mentioned, you have 7,000 Eyes restrict targets in the monster lineup. And then you have obviously 3 Ryukoki, which are level 6 monsters, which is very powerful with meta. And then as the game progresses, King Skull just gets better and better as you're able to buy more and more time. So as far as the interactions, this is really nice. If your opponent kills an emissary on their turn and you have Raigeki Break set, if you have no cards in hand or cards that are good in hand that you don't want to discard, it doesn't even matter, because when they get rid of your emissary, it gives you Raigeki Break discard fodder during your opponent's turn. So Emissary is super spicy, and he's just such a cool card. I mean, look at the art. Perfect for the Halloween theme. And then something I did want to mention is just be careful when you're swapping Emissary instead of Turtle, because Emissary, he's 1600. You don't necessarily always want to give your opponent a 1600 attacker if you don't have a way of getting rid of it, right? You do want to swap Skull Servant since it's low attack and it boosts King Skull when it hits graveyard. But also, like I mentioned in the profile, King Skull is like giving them a goat token with 0 attack, so that's really good. And something that is super spicy about this deck is that you can meta Ryukoki into Ryu Senshi, which is a super nice meta because it's a 2000 attack monster with 1200 defense. He has an effect where he cannot be targeted by any spell cards, and he can negate traps, regular traps, by paying 1,000 life points. So if he hits field, you have a really nice monster to attack in with and to just summon all of your zombies and just zombie swarm them. Okay, so let's get into some actual gameplay with the deck. Man, I was playing this Bazoo return deck and I was just able to get this deck going, and it's so fun. And you'll see it can do some stuff. So let's check it out. I see Pot of Greed, that makes me happy. And then, perfect, I have all of these targets, and this is actually my mistake here because I was playing Phoenix Wing Windblast, and that just does not really help this deck that much. Because in most decks, I really like Phoenix Wing. I should probably make a video just about my opinion about it. I love Phoenix Wing just because it sets your opponent back a turn, and it's any card on your opponent's side of the field, and you're discarding stuff, which is usually good in decks. But in this one, it doesn't work out, and you'll see why. So I'm gonna just show my hand here. And he's going to set one. And if I had Raigeki Break here, I would have been able to go into my Book of Life play. But that's okay. I'm going to set him back a turn. I'm going to send his face down monster back because it had Serpent in hand. And here it would have been nice if I could have summoned out a Ryukoki and just kept swinging in and held back my breaker to deal with back row later. But I end up not having anything, and I just decide I want to make the most of it, and I'm just going to swing in. And I have 2 spells, so I'm not going to set them. So I'm just going to keep breaker out on field with his token. And if he snatches it, sure, I have a snatch in hand. So we go into his turn, and he just summons Deco, and he swings into Pyramid Turtle. And here, I wanted to think, why would he just normal summon a Deco to kill my Pyramid Turtle when he could just set it and get a card, right? So I had a feeling he's gonna take the monster. Somehow I'm pretty sure he has Snatch, and he's gonna take Ryukoki if I bring him out. And he's gonna do something, and it's not gonna be good, and I don't want that. So I bring out another copy of Pyramid Turtle, and I allow myself the opportunity to decide when I'm going to bring out Ryukoki. You don't always want to bring out Ryukoki on their turn, because in main phase 2, they could have the snatch, like my opponent did here. So he takes the Pyramid Turtle instead. Imagine, he could have taken a Ryukoki and meted it off for something really bad for me. So here I was really fortunate that I didn't do that, and he was only able to just get out Darkfire Dragon instead. So my intuition there served me well, and fortunately I drew the MST. And I just attack in here. And here is where I kick myself, because I should have set Sinister Serpent, so I could have at least maybe had, another monster on board and tribute fodder for Ryukoki. But I didn't. I don't know what I was thinking. And here is where he attacks in, he crashes with his bazoo, and then he just pokes me for 15. So there, my Sinister Serpent could have at least taken the hit. But that's okay. So I don't really have much here, so I just decide, you know what, I'm just going to go Book of Life. It's about time. I'm going to banish off that bazoo, and I'm going to go in. So I tribute off his monster, and I poke him for 36, and I just want to put him into a really precarious position. And he hits my MST with a heavy, so that's fine. And I go discard. I want to see what I can get. And unfortunately, he had Scapegoat, so that was a bummer. And here's what I mentioned. Emissary is such a dope normal summon, because you just have him out on the field, and as long as he hits Graveyard, you're going to get something. So here I just decide, you know what? Let's start going in. Let's just start clearing his monsters out. And I set, and we're going into his turn. He draws into Magician of Faith, and he set it, and I swung into it. He gets Snatch Steal, so I know he's going to Snatch Steal Ryukoki next turn. And here, it's actually a bummer because he has Scapegoat again. So I'm only able to just give him, Snatch, and then he has 2 Scapegoats on field. And then here, he was actually really cool, so shoutouts to Not So Fast. I had just built this deck. I was still playing Phoenix Wing Wind Blast. I was still just testing it, and I didn't even have the extra deck. So he gives me the Ryu Senshi from his deck, and I tribute off my Ryukoki with meta because I know he has a snatch, and now Ryu Senshi can't be snatched because he can't be he negates the effects of any spell card that targets him. So this can't be snatched. What is he going to do with the Pyramid Turtle? He's going to crash into me. That's not going to help. Same with Emissary. He can crash into me, and then it's just going to give me a Skull Servant. So I put him in this really tough position, and I'm negating traps now, and I have 6,000 life points. So he goes snatch, and he just puts it in defense. And here I just go in. I go for the Book of Life to bring out Ryusenshi, and I'm just bringing out all the monsters, and I'm just going to clear them out. And yeah, he admits defeat here. He says Ryusenshi, it just blocked him out. And the fact I had such a heavy life bank, I had so many life points, I was just able to close him out with that card. So that's something I like with this deck. I'm so used to bringing out Ryu Senshi with something like Cyberstein and going down to 3,000 life points and only having 2 trap negates. But in this deck, you have so many recruiters, you have so many little monsters that you're just setting in defense, right? You have your King Skulls, you have your Skull Servants, you have so many monsters to wall yourself with and floaters that you're not really taking a lot of life point damage, and you're just bringing back monsters with Book of Life. So you're not taking life point damage. If you can get Ryu Senshi out, he can essentially act as your Royal Decree. It's really dope. So we go into a game 2, but it's really scrappy, and I'll just kind of fast forward through it, and you can listen to me talk, and you can slow it down if you want. But this one was not a pretty duel. I did not play this one well. It was like I was playing this at like 2 or 3 in the morning. Um, I was delirious. I like do these really goofy plays, like with creature swap here. I couldn't attack and crash into my own pyramid turtle. But anyways, this was deck 1 of Halloween week's profiles. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Tomorrow's deck profile, it's going to be even spicier. If you guys like Lord of the Rings, I think you're going to appreciate the deck profile. So shout outs to my Lord of the Rings fans. Shout outs to you guys that are still listening. And I hope you guys enjoyed this deck profile. And I'm just going to let this close out. You could see this deck, it can really scrap if it needs to. And this one went on for a really long time. If you slow this down, you'll see I made a horrible misplay and swung in with Ryu Koki into his DD War Lady. But anyways, here you're going to see I get so lucky. And here it comes. Basically, check this out. The math was perfect, and it was only because of math and my one face down that I'm able to clutch the game. He pays half his life points at a clear field. He was going to bring out all of his monsters. I had 4,800 life points. He has 2,300, but I had set ring. So I ring him. That's game. Anyways, guys, I'll see you in the next profile tomorrow for day number 2 of the Halloween profiles. Take care, guys. Peace.